disruption. In your view, what is disruption?
See, disruption is anything which makes a latent need of a customer become a critical need. From that perspective, disruption is something which sets a trend. It could be technological trend, it could be a non-technological trend. It creates a market of its own. The word startup has started resonating with wealth creation a lot in our ecosystem, and that is not the case. So in a lot of sessions that I do at educational institutes as well, I tell them focus on sustainable entrepreneurship. Even when you get investors' money and you have a great idea, you have a great team, you tick all the boxes. After that, utilizing that investors' money judiciously is also your responsibility. You use Genai, but you need to put your tadka on it to make sure that you are creating customized value for your client rather than just copying, pasting what Genai has provided you. Let me continue working on my product until the product justifies me. Always think about that this is your vision around a product. What is the minimum viable product that I can take it to the market as phase one?
So what kind of leadership qualities do you think a startup founder should have?
Personally, what I believe is that a leader is someone who is really self-aware that what is it that I'm good at and what is it that I need to push my other team members to do who are more capable than me. So the first thing.
Hello everybody, welcome to Talking Through. Today we have Abhishek Chauhan with us, founder of Samvedanam Consulting and WeIncubate. He's an experienced investor and also a consultant. So before any further ado, let's talk to him. Hi Vishek, welcome to Talking Through.
Thank you so much for having me.
Before we delve any deeper into the topics that we're going to discuss today about entrepreneurship or about leadership, I would like you to tell you about like the audience, that who you are, what you do, and then we'll move forward.
Sure. So I call myself a problem solver, right? I have been solving business problems for almost the last 20 years of my career. I had a good corporate stint for more than 15 years, where I worked with various firms such as KPMG, Bain and Company. I was with Frost & Sullivan. I worked with Redseer. I worked with Motorola. I worked with GoDigit. And everywhere, one thing was very common, that I was solving certain business problems throughout my corporate stint. And specifically, I have stayed very close to technology. I've stayed close to strategy. I've stayed close to deal advisory. And the last 5 years of my corporate career, I moved to Bangalore, which is known as the startup capital of India. And there I started working a lot with startups. And that is potentially when I realized that there is a significant potential to kind of promote more startups in the country. And that is what kind of pushed me towards my entrepreneurial journey as well. So for the last 3 years, I am running a couple of my own ventures.
Okay, thanks so much for giving this background. I mean, after such a long corporate career, what was that motivation that brought you to this like new world of, setting up your own consulting firm and also having an incubator? So what was the real push behind it?
So that's a very interesting question. So personally, I was always an entrepreneur by heart, right? From my B school days, I used to head this entrepreneurship committee. But I was also trying to find disruptive ideas, which is a good thing and a bad thing. The good thing is that, you think of a lot of ideas, you meet a lot of people, you do a lot of diligence around them. You get to learn a lot. But the bad thing that I did was that what I did not realize is that you always do not need a very disruptive idea to start up. So even when I just started working, I ran a retail startup of my own for a while. And my first startup was not such a big hit. So one thing that I really learned at that time was that for an entrepreneur, it's very, very important to fail. And after that, I tried to be enterprising and entrepreneurial in whatever corporate stints I had. So I ended up heading a lot of business verticals pretty early on in my life. And specifically the last 5 years when I was in Bangalore, I used to meet a lot of entrepreneurs. And I really started liking their stories, and the idea hit me. The idea was that it's okay if I don't have a disruptive idea, but why not work with people who have disruptive ideas? Because personally, I feel that driven by problem-solving mindset, driven by certain other skills that I have gained, probably I can really add value to some challenges that founders face today. So that is what pushed me to think about my first company, which is Samvedanam. So we at Samvedanam, we work with early stage startups and help them in two key areas. The first one is we have an investment banking division, which works on fundraising for startups. And second is the growth advisory division, where we try to help all startups across their growth areas, right? So be it go-to-market, be it new customer acquisition, be it understanding where their customers are, what do their customers need, what do they think about them, and so on and so forth. But one interesting thing that happened was that with Samvedanam also, while we were working with early stage startups, we were predominantly positioned in the market with startups who at least had a product in the market. And since I personally, with my entrepreneurial stint, I had moved to Upper North in Chandigarh. So I personally am based out of Chandigarh. What I realized was that there the entrepreneurs are even younger. And there you have a lot of talent, but essentially people are still getting aware about what entrepreneurship is and how the ecosystem looks and what kind of support we can get, etc. So that is what pushed me to think that while Samvedanam is positioned well, and we are right now in 3 cities doing good work across India, it might make a lot of sense to have a private incubator which works with even earlier stage startups which are pre-seed. Right. And that is what pushed us to think about launching a private incubator called WeIncubate. So the idea is WeIncubate catches raw talent, convert them into startups which are feasible. We help entrepreneurs to kind of ideate, build their minimum viable products, launch them into the market, and then they get ready for scaling up, right? So when they get ready for scaling up, that's where Samvedanam comes in. Right. So that was the entire essence, that how you can create a one-stop shop for an entrepreneur right from the word go.
Okay. So there are a couple of questions in my mind that I want to ask you, and that's based on, what I was thinking while you were explaining this.
Right.
The first one was disruption, right?
Yes.
Because you hear this a lot, that, you're disrupting a certain market. In your view, what is disruption? Is it always technological, or is it something else also sometimes?
See, disruption is anything which makes a latent need of a customer become a critical need, right? We were doing pretty well even before Zomato and Swiggy came. Right. We used to have these good get out weekends with our friends, family over the weekends. We will go and dine out, etc. We did not realize what food delivery will do to you. But having said that, Zomato, Swiggy, and certain other models have come into our lives and made us realize that today they are more critical than us stepping out to dine out, right? So from that perspective, disruption is something which sets a trend. It could be technological trend, it could be a non-technological trend. It creates a market of its own. Right. And one more thing, interesting thing I would like to mention here is that you don't need to be the first disruptor in the market. Even if there is someone who has disrupted a market, you need to have an understanding of how big the market is. And if the market is big enough, there is a room for many more players to continue disrupting the market in the same market. Right? So yeah, that is what I believe
about disruption, which is obviously, because I asked you this question because in most cases I've heard that disruption is with technology.
Yeah.
There is a market of its own, say an insurance market. Earlier it was run by agents, and now it's run by something, the aggregators of policies and everything, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's good to know it's more than that and what it means. So because you're so close to the startup ecosystem, can you explain about WeIncubate a little bit more? What do you do? I know you just explained it a little bit.
Sure.
But with a practical example of what you actually do.
Sure. So at WeIncubate, the idea is that we are trying to find disruptive founders. We are not looking at disruptive ideas, but disruptive founders. Founders who have the right mindset, the right conviction, and the right belief in the idea that they bring to the table. We need to understand that in the startup era that we are living in right now, you will find competition for almost every idea that comes to the table. It's just that at that point in time, in that particular geography, probably a person is not aware that the competition exists. If the founder has belief that his idea would sustain, he believes that he is going to give it all, then WeIncubate provides him the platform to kind of come, ideate his idea, and there is a difference between idea and ideation, right? So ideate his idea. Once he has developed that idea into minimum viable product, then how to kind of take it to the market. And along this journey, whatever financial needs also this particular founder has, so we work with the right ecosystem partners to enable grants or any kind of angel or institutional funding for this founder.
Okay.
So the idea is that you provide the founder, the suitable home for incubating his startup end to end. And we also take pride in calling ourselves as co-founders for that particular founder for the time that particular startup is with us, right? So one of the examples that we have is that, so we are pretty young. So WeIncubate actually started 3 months back. Now I think it's the 4th month of operation. So we've got the startup in the fashion tech space. And essentially we onboarded this guy even when WeIncubate was kind of officially getting registered. So he was with us since Jan. And now he has a fully operational product. The startup is called Style Zen, by the way, for all the viewers who are looking at this channel. They should go and experience the app. And we started with the founder right from the ideation stage and helped him kind of design his product, helped him validate his product in the market. Currently also he's working with us on a number of areas. And today his app has already seen about 5,000 plus downloads, and he has an active user base. And he continues to work with us. So that is a model predominantly that WeIncubate operates in. And we have also done MOUs with all the right ecosystem partners, be it legal, be it other government incubators, because we are a private incubator. So we are not competitors to government incubators, right? So we are synergistic there. We are working with certain angel networks to ensure that we get the right funding for our startups when they are ready for it, and so on and so forth.
Right. Okay. Great. Good to know that it's already in motion.
Yeah.
According to you, why does a startup fail in a very early stage? What triggers that failure?
That's a very interesting question. And I'm someone who actually had a taste of it in my first entrepreneurial stint. I was pretty young then. So first of all, I mean, I would like to say by saying that failures make you successful, right? So it's good to fail.
Yeah.
Right. Second is that what I believe, there are about 3-4 reasons that come to my head. The first one is the founder not spending too much time on ideation. I just mentioned that there is a difference between idea
and ideation,
and ideation, right? So ideation is idea plus. You have an idea. How do you conceptualize that idea, and what will be the implementation journey? And it is not a one-time process. You have to come back to the ideation board every other month, because today the trends are moving so fast, consumer needs are changing so fast, that if you believe that your vanilla product will continue winning in the market, you're not going to sustain, right? So wherever founders spend too less time on ideation, I believe that, they are poised to fail. The second bit is the motivation of finding a startup is not very clear, right? So when I say that, if you are finding a startup just because you are seeing some unicorn stories, what you don't realize is that it's only less than 1% of startups who are successful. You don't understand that 99% of the startups did fail, right? If you're there for wealth creation rather than value creation, right? Immediate wealth creation, and you're looking at immediate scale up, you get into too much burn. You don't think about unit economics. You don't think about whether your value proposition is actually servicing your customer. That is where you are definitely poised to fail. The third element that comes to my mind is when you, as a founder, feel that you can do it all, right? All of us need to understand that. Now, I am running a couple of ventures. I'm an angel investor myself in about 8+ startups now. I also, with time, and I think this should be true for every founder during the ideation phase itself. So it should be a part of your ideation exercise. That what are the capabilities I bring to the table, and what are the capabilities I would need help with. And sooner the founder realizes that, he or she should go for external help for non-core activities, there is no harm with that. I've seen very young founders come to me and saying that, sir, I have an idea, and but I'm not very sure if I should even think of a co-founder yet, because my idea probably would get stolen, or it could get replicated, etc. What they need to think is that alone you are not poised to do justice to that idea that you have, and you need team members. So entrepreneurship or startup is teamwork. It is not an individual contribution journey.
Right.
So those are three things that come to my head. But yeah, there could be a few more reasons as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously the lone wolf attitude doesn't work in startups, right? Because you can't do everything yourself.
Yeah.
Somebody might be good at something, somebody might be good at something. And when it comes together, maybe that's the place where synergy is bound, right?
Absolutely. Even with Samvedanam and WeIncubate, the first thing we decided when we were ideating on Samvedanam 3 years back and now on WeIncubate is what exactly we can do and for what we need expert partners, right? So, for example, legal is not something which we can do on our own. So, we have a great legal partner. For financial compliances, we have a great financial compliance partner. Not everything can be created inside your startup. Otherwise, you will become jack of all trades and master of none.
Right. Also, in your experience, what are some of the basic challenges that startups in India are facing? Apart from, the cultural problems we have, like, I guess the first instinct of everybody is to go for a job, right?
Right.
But that's changing slightly. But other than that, what do you think are some major financial or infrastructural issues that startups face?
See, in terms of financial, let me answer the financial and infrastructural issues first, because there could be some more challenges as well. In terms of financial, startups, most of the founders struggle with understanding how to value their company. I've been screening few startups who are coming to one of our events shortly. And what I've realized is there are very aggressive valuations, right? And somewhere I'm not very sure how mathematical or scientific the founder was to create that kind of valuation at such an early stage. Secondly, when they are doing those financial valuations, they actually do not work on a very diligent financial business plan. You are building a product. You need to understand what price you will sell that product at. With time, how that pricing could behave, building in certain risks from the environment, right, from the market. What will be the cost over time, right? And the costs have to go deeper. You can't, just say that the industry benchmark is 60% gross margins and 20% EBITDA, right? So from that perspective, founders do lack awareness, and they believe that they can pick funding on their own, right? Which is, I will not say which doesn't happen, but it happens very less in terms of how many people apply for funding versus how many get them. So getting the right support there will help them tackle this challenge. In terms of infrastructure, I have seen a lot of founders just work from their homes. Personally, what I believe is that if you are working with an incubation partner or if you're working with some partner, office spaces have specific, attractive propositions for you, you being a startup. Even Government of India, the government incubators are offering very good rates in terms of you going to proper professional co-working space, sitting with other similar founders and working in a professional environment. So in terms of infrastructure, if you ask me, there are plenty of spaces available. It's just that founders are not effectively utilizing them, right? So that is the second challenge that I believe the startups are facing today. And the third challenge that I personally believe is that they are spoiled for a lot of choices. So there was a time when we used to wait for that one movie on Sunday, right? And all of us will watch it together. Now you can see, that so much content is available that you are just confused that whether to watch Netflix today or Amazon Prime today. And if you're watching Netflix today, what to watch? It's the same thing with startups. They are getting targeted by so many ecosystem partners that they themselves are not clear whom to work with. In fact, one of the interesting case studies is that I just met an entrepreneur from a college, and he just told me that at this age, he ended up paying someone 5 lakhs to help him just launch the startup in the market. And I told him that, were you working under some expert supervision at that time? And he said no. So less awareness, thinking that we can take a decision without much expert consultation, and being targeted by a lot of people. Probably, I think that is another challenge that founders are facing today. They should do their due diligence in terms of finding a mentor or an ecosystem partner who shares their vision, mission, work ethics, who are ready to own their startup with them, own their journey with them. So those are 3-4 challenges that I can think about.
Great. I mean, the third one I didn't even think about, to be honest, when I asked you this question.
Yeah.
The other question is that when you're in the early stages, at every point, how do you ensure that there is going to be some sustainable growth? Right? Like your product is going from, or your company is going from point A to point B in a certain frame of time. And then how do you move to the third stage, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'll even take a step back. What has happened is that off late, driven by number of events which have happened in the startup ecosystem, and I'll not take names here, but all of us are aware, right? Certain startups have gone south after taking soaring valuations in the market, and they have not been able to give the ROI that the investors were expecting them to. And even their customers, the services to the customers that they promised were not delivered on time. Everyone is now looking at startups who think about sustainability right from the ideation phase. So we do understand that, you need to build a product initially, you need to take it to the market. Initially, there will be no revenue. That is fine. But how quickly you bring in the cost angle as well, in addition to revenue. Personally, the word startup has started resonating with wealth creation a lot in our ecosystem. And that is not the case. So in a lot of sessions that I do at educational institutes as well, I tell them focus on sustainable entrepreneurship. Do not focus on, aggressively growing disruptive startups. Think about, if you have to do 1 rupee of revenue, what is your cost right from day one? Because if you build in the cost into your mindset, that is when you become a sustainable startup, right? Even when you get investors' money and you have a great idea, you have a great team, you take all the boxes. After that, utilizing that investors' money judiciously is also your responsibility. And until you have a clear understanding of how your costs are going to look like to deliver the kind of projections you have promised your investors, probably you'll not be able to do justice to create a sustainable startup. So it is critically important to build in sustainability, to know terms like unit economics right from the ideation stage for the founders today.
Right. I mean, hearing all of this, do you think sometimes there is this inflated sense of probable success just because there is so much option out there? Do you feel that happens and people take it lightly that we are going to land up with some investment and then we'll see what happens?
Yeah, it happens all the while. In fact, I'm working with one startup. Again, if I say so much, probably the name will come out. But essentially, this guy got investment at a pre-seed stage from some of the known, billionaires in the country. Great idea, disruptive idea. Now, in that entire event, he just kept on focusing on building the product. He did not work on monetization, right? Too aggressively. So his product is monetized, but the kind of traction he could have built with that kind of pre-seed round of $4 million, $5 million plus. And it's a big deal, by the way. Pre-seed, in a pre-seed round, you generally don't get, 100K, 200K, forget about 4-5 million, right? And it is a classic founder's dilemma. Let me continue working on my product until the product justifies me. Always think about that this is your vision around a product. What is the minimum viable product that I can take it to the market as phase one? So break your product development into phases, right? Somewhere when you get support from the ecosystem, beyond the point, people will not support you if you have not launched your product timely, and if you have not been able to show traction in that product. So there are founders who have done it well, but we only read their stories, right? But we don't look at people who are struggling in the market even after picking up their first round, driven by that they were caught in this dilemma of just continuing to work on their product better, or they had certain notions about how to utilize the funding they have picked in the market. So yeah, I kind of agree. I think it's a challenge. People get influenced by the success stories. But the way most of the people read things, through Instagram reels and all, where only the successful people come and speak, right? They don't go deeper into that. Even those successful people did fail in their lives, right? And they learned from it, and then they got it right in the next chance when they kind of launch their next startup, right?
Right. And in India at the moment, what kind of sectors or products do you think will do well, in your observation, of course?
See, the beauty about our country, and we are seeing, that recession is there in certain developed economies in the world today, but we continue to be recession-proof until now. And I am assuming that we will continue to be resilient. Of course, there might be a little bit of downturn, but having said that, the key reason behind that is that we have a 1.45 billion population. And out of that 1.45 billion population, more than 50% people are in the growing middle class who have increased disposable incomes. So the first sector that I would like to talk about is anything which is creating a consumer product, mapping to specific consumer needs, because such a wide base of population, such a wide base of population has different target cohorts. So anything which is consumer will do well, provided you have clarity on which target cohort you are targeting to and where will you find them. That is one. The second sector that comes to my mind is anything which is related to climate and sustainability. I mean, India has a big role to play towards world's SDG goals, looking at the kind of impact we have, right, in terms of being the 5th largest economy today, and hopefully we'll be the 3rd largest soon. So from that perspective, anything which is looking at renewable energy, plastic alternatives, circular economy, etc., right? I think these kind of startups will do pretty well. And the third sector that comes to my mind is, and I will take it as a horizontal, people need to start thinking of their products and services as a service. So I'll not specifically just say software as a service, right? Because ultimately what is happening is we have one of the biggest pool of Gen Zs in the world.
Right.
I was just reading somewhere, we have a pool of about 120 million Gen Zs. Now, these Gen Zs like to experience, but they don't like to pay to own it, right? So from that perspective, if I ask a lot of Gen Zs today that whether would you like to own your apartment, they say no. They want to rent it out. They want to save for other things that they want to kind of spend their time on. So from that perspective, how you can convert your product or service that you're providing into some sort of subscription plan for Gen Zs to experience, I think any product that falls under such bucket is going to do well. So those are 3 areas which I feel should do well.
Right. Great. Because you mentioned climate tech and everything else, I know you're going to lead one of those events that's, which has happened with in October, Paratan, which is focused on climate tech. Can you say something about the event? What happened there? What kind of event was that? Something like that.
Sure. So the journey started for us actually last year in June. We did the first edition of Parivartan in June 2023, where we worked with Center of Global Affairs of Public Policy, and MacArthur Foundation had kind of come on the event, and they backed us. And the event actually went very successful. It saw participation from government stakeholders, some of the key investors, some good promising startups. And a couple of great success stories came out of the event. One success story that came out is Mvoodoo, who is, who picked up a great round of funding from Rain Matter, Mr. Nikhil and Nitin Kamat's fund. And there are a couple of other success stories as well, which are under creation from the last edition of the event. So following the lead of the same event, we were getting a lot of queries that when is the next Parivartan happening? And that pushed us to kind of do Parivartan 2.0 on 1st of October, which we just concluded at India Habitat Center. The event kind of grew almost 3x in terms of scale, in terms of participation from last year. This time the focus was on specific themes around urban resilience. So it saw a lot of thought leadership sessions around plastic alternatives. There was a legal session in terms of what some of the ClimateTech startups need to keep in mind when they are running their startups or launching their startups. And then there were a couple of sessions which were focused around fundraising, right? And which were led specifically by us. One session was for pre-seed startups who are pretty early in their journey, and we planned a very interesting carbon dating format for them, where there were dating stations which were created, and they kind of spend time with multiple investors on those dating stations. It's like speed dating. And the second format was for scale-ups, where we organized a proper pitching session, which saw participation from 25 plus leading investors in India in the climate tech and sustainability space. So certainly, I think I'm quite excited about Parivartan as becoming a great franchisee under climate and sustainability. And I believe it will continue to create that impact. And we should see some of the success stories coming out from Parivartan 2.0 soon as well.
Sure. Great. Mvoodoo is the bamboo startup, right? Based in Kolkata. That's the one, right?
Yes.
So one question that I've been asking everybody is about Genai. How do you think is going to disrupt the market? Because it has in certain cases, right? Have you observed anything happening in your space?
See, from a Genai perspective, it is up to you how you can work with Genai to maximize the value for yourself. We also use certain Genai tools when it comes to helping some of our clients. But having said that, and there I'll take a liberty to use a Hindi word here, right? That you use GenAI, but you need to put your tadka on it, right? To make sure that you are creating customized value for your client rather than just copying, pasting what GenAI has provided you, right? So certainly, I think GenAI tools induce efficiencies for you to launch your products faster to the market, right? But having said that, I think that tadka is extremely important, and some of the smartest customers now know whether you have used AI or not while delivering their solution, right? So from that perspective, I mean, we also use AI, but we make sure that whatever AI has shortlisted for us, hopefully it has covered all the relevant trends, and whatever it has provided us, there is significant pruning and diligence done on top of it to deliver the solution for our clients. So yes, it is going to disrupt, but it cannot replace us. That's what my take is.
And how about the affordability of the technology? Do you think it's affordable yet, or it will take some time?
Honestly, for Indian startups, it can do better on pricing. I have seen some GenAI tools. The kind of subscription money they charge is pretty expensive. I will still urge some of them to do a diligence on the pricing appetite for the Indian startup customers or Indian customers that they are targeting, and look at launching relevant products for the Indian market. I mean, I can take a parallel from the consumer market, right? So Netflix launched the cheapest plan ever across the planet in India, right? So India is a very price sensitive market. So of course, they can continue doing well. I mean, one critical example that I can take from someone, so there is a startup who has been working with us for a while. He has launched a GenAI collaboration solution, right? And he's incubated with a very great IIT. I'll not take specific name. But having said that, in the past 18 months, he has not been able to build traction and launch that MVP effectively in the market, right? The only reason that I see is that he is trying to bring in the US pricing into the Indian market for the solution. So you need to think about India as a price sensitive market when you are launching that product in the market.
What I gather is, as far as pricing is concerned, the global flavor wouldn't work.
Absolutely.
The Bharatiya tadka will, right?
Yeah.
You need to price it down according to the market appetite, right?
Absolutely. And I'm not saying that you provide the same product. You can be innovative about what features you want to provide at a lower pricing. At least get the customer onboarded and then slowly, steadily kind of cross-sell and upsell.
Yeah, right. Now, what I sometimes think is, when you build a startup, you need some qualities to build like a successful startup.
Right.
And one of this is obviously leadership, right?
Sure.
Like you mentioned earlier about building a team, taking help from people, understanding where you're going to incubate versus where you're going to take funding from. So what kind of leadership qualities do you think a startup founder should have? Or you've seen that people have? Can you mention some of those?
See, the word leadership is something that everyone can kind of interpret the way they want to. Personally, what I believe is that a leader is someone who is really self-aware, right? That what is it that I'm good at and what is it that I need to push my other team members to do who are more capable than me in delivering that. So the first thing that I would like to talk about is that when you are ideating and you understand that, and I have seen non-tech people launch tech products, right? And being successful at it. And that is only because they realized that while the vision from a customer mindset is clear, but the technical capabilities does not reside with them, and they got the right tech co-founder to help them, or they work with the right tech partners to kind of design that product for them. So the first learning to conclude for the startup founders is always think about creating a team who can help you attain a vision, right? The second thing is, I mean, I know that a lot of startup founders are young and they might, find terms like vision, mission, gas, right? But it is critically important, whatever they want to call it, right? It is critically important for them to think that why they want to find a particular startup or why they want to launch a particular product. They need to ideate a lot more. And hopefully the vision is not wealth creation for themselves right from the word go. Anyways, I mean, wealth creation is important. It will happen sooner or later, right? But the vision has to be that how their product or service will have a scalable business model in the longer run. It will kind of continue to create traction in the market, right? So that is the second thing that comes to my mind. The third learning from a leadership perspective for founders that comes to my mind is that do not aggressively go for fundraising if you don't need it, right? Think about sustainable business right from the word go. I think we discussed it some time back.
Yeah.
If you are able to create a business where at a unit level you are making some money right from the word go, then that's the best model to be in.
Right.
For some reason, raising funds has become a parameter of success. That shouldn't be the case, right? So sustainable path to growth and profitability is something that leadership should push across its team members. That, yeah, I mean, why should I spend so much money on marketing? Could there be more innovative ways for me to acquire customers? People don't do that. People follow the fact that, okay, it is only digital marketing. There should be budgets for me to run campaigns on marketplaces or Google or Facebook or whatever it is. And they burn a lot of money there. So they need to think about unit economics right from the word go. And the fourth thing is, which is slightly non-business, is health. So health is wealth. I've seen that once founders start slogging, their fitness levels start struggling. Make sure that you find time to keep a healthy mind and healthy body, because that's only when you can create a healthy venture.
Right.
So those are four things that probably come to my mind on that.
I think a couple of things that I I've learned is you need to create value first and then wealth, right?
Absolutely.
Because that's where the wealth is coming from.
Absolutely.
If you take any successful businesses, whether they are traditional or they have come from the startup culture, all of them have created some value in the society,
Absolutely.
in the country, and then got the money back from them, right?
Absolutely.
That's the
Absolutely.
reward that the society gives you, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So that's one thing. And the other thing, what I sometimes feel is that even the investors have FOMO.
Yeah.
Like, a major FOMO that somebody else is going to get this, right? Have you felt that?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, people ask me that what is it that investors look for?
Yeah.
And I have not been able to answer that question.
Yeah.
A lot many times is driven by gut or following the lead of someone else, right? That somebody, some big name invested in certain sector. I'll give you a classic example. We were working with a renewable energy startup last year. The guy is into solar energy, and we were trying to get him some funding. But thankfully, I think his business model was so sustainable that he realized that he doesn't want to go for equity funding right now. But there was a gap. There was a gap in terms of that we kicked off the mandate, and then in 2-3 months, this guy got good sustainable orders, and then all of us came together as a team. And good part is that is how we work. We will not push him to even being a iBank, we will not continue to push him to say that, you know what, you still should raise funds. I mean, it makes sense. If you're sustainable, you're sustainable. Right. And at that point in time, we did arrange few meaningful conversations with certain funds. And at that time, funds were not finding him scalable. All of a sudden, few weeks back, we have started getting queries for him. Right. And it's the same business model. Of course, the guy has got slightly bigger, right, in terms of doing good work in the ecosystem. But having said that, all of a sudden something has changed, something has happened that people who were saying that, this particular startup is not fitting in their investment thesis, all of a sudden it started fitting in their investment thesis. So I've seen that people follow, most of the people follow. Right. There are very few who lead. There are very few Warren Buffets, that the world has seen. And that is what we have seen, that, one startup picks up funding, then a lot of investors start chasing that startup. Right. So the biggest journey for any startup which is looking at raising funds is getting the first right investor.
Right.
And I always say that probably another area for learnings for an entrepreneur, right? Sorry, I'm going back to your first question. That in case your startup needs funding, the first investor that you should get should not be decided based on the valuation. You should look at the non-valuation value that the investor is bringing to the table. Right? And investors bring in a lot of value other than the money that they put in.
Right.
So that becomes critically important.
Right. Thank you for answering my next question, which was, what is the role of the investor? Because I've been asking a lot of people about roles and responsibilities and qualities of a startup founder or a founder. But I have seldom asked people about the role of the investor.
Right.
So thank you for shedding some light on that. Mentorship is a big part of your, day-to-day work, right? Either through WeIncubate or Samvedanam or to educational institutes. How do you do that, and what are some of the things that you've learned through it, and what do people look for in a mentor?
Right. See, I'll tell you, I mean, one of the biggest, I would say, learning for me has been that most of the people don't realize that they need a mentor. So we don't use that term too much, to be honest. They believe that by talking to people around, they will be able to get the required knowledge or get the answers to the questions that they have. What I personally believe is that it's always good to have a mentor or two, right? Depending on the kind of startup you're trying to create. You always need a sounding board or a punching bag for some of the ideas you're working on, because at times when you're too passionate, there are certain areas which you might overlook, and a good mentor will do justice to bring you back to your vision. Right. You might not agree to all the things that I'm telling you as a mentor, and which is absolutely fine. That's why you're a great founder. I mean, what is one of the biggest signs of you being a great founder is ability to filter, ability to say no to certain things, right? But having said that, you should definitely have someone
Mm.
who can continue bringing you back to the vision that you started your startup with and help you move out of any dilemma with respect to whether my product is ready for the market, when should I launch it, or I should continue working on this product for 2 years, 3 years. I mean, a lot of EV startups continue doing that. They picked up great rounds of funding and they did not launch their product in the market. And then the investors who had invested money in them, they started questioning them that, you picked money from us 3 years back and we haven't seen any action in the market, right? And in this process, what you end up doing is also harm the wider market, because some good early EV players are now paying up for what you did during your initial days. So we do engage in mentorship activities in different formats. Idea is to create awareness. If some founders like us, and we are very selective, so we are not running a commodity engine here. Selection is predominantly driven by the quality of the entrepreneur, to be honest, right? Even if the idea is moderate, we still are happy to work with this guy to create a disruptive business model on this idea. And we are doing awareness camps, awareness sessions in universities. We are running multiple startup cohorts with some of the ecosystem partners. And we are working with certain startups directly also now who are getting incubated by us.
Right. About mentorship, what I have felt is that when you have a mentor, this person also sometimes helps you get rid of your biases.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes you're very emotionally connected to something, right? And
Absolutely.
you can't see past that bias, right? So
Yeah.
I guess that's also one of the things that in my experience has helped me a lot. We've discussed a lot in the last half an hour or so. And I would like to know a little bit about you because you do a lot of work balancing so many things, and you also mentioned health. So in your own free time, what other passions do you have?
So one thing that I realized pretty early was, we spoke about it, right? That health is critically important. So I do make sure that I engage myself in activities which allow me to reboot. If you sleep at night with the baggage of whatever you face during the day, it's not a healthy sleep. So I make sure that I sleep well. I stick to my 8 hours of sleep. Once I wake up in the morning, I go for my morning sports, be it tennis, I play squash, and then followed by some time in the gym. At times I go for swimming. And in between as well, I try to take breathing breaks, right? It could be 5-10 minutes breaks from my regular routine, right? So yeah, I think I've been meaningfully busy, and I do like to travel. So I'm very sure that I need at least 1.5 months off during the year. It is up to me how well I can plan my work around it, because if I'm clear that I need 6 weeks off, then I can plan my client commitments and my team commitments accordingly. So yeah, and that's the beauty of being an entrepreneur, that you can plan your life the way you want
to be. Yeah. What are the happy parts of being an entrepreneur? Like everybody talks about being the challenges and, long work hours, but what are the happy parts?
Oh, there are a lot of happy parts. The happiest part is that every day you're looking forward to it. Every new client that you convert or customer you convert, or we celebrated, I was talking about Styles Zen, right? Which is a fashion tech upcoming startup. We celebrated the first e-commerce sale, which was just 700 rupees on his platform. And all of us were so happy about it, right? So you celebrate so many small things, every client conversion, when you hire your team members, right? And you're a small team, you look forward to welcoming them on board. You look forward to kind of network, right? Every networking event, it gives you a lot of confidence, right? So I think there are a lot of highs in an entrepreneur's life, and the biggest high that I spoke about is that you can control what you want to do if you're planned about it, if you have ideated well.
Yeah, great. So thank you, Abhishek, for speaking with me.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Giving your time to us. I think it was a very engaging discussion for me. I hope the viewers will get a lot of ideas from this discussion and maybe think about, how to start their business ventures in a more systemic way, and take help when necessary, right?
Absolutely.
So thank you very much for being here, and we will be in touch with you for way many more discussions. So yeah, thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And
Thank
I'm
you.
looking forward to more discussions with you. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. So that was Abhishek Chauhan. Hope you had gone through the entire podcast, listened to it, learned something from it. And if you have any questions, drop us in the comments. Till next time, bye bye.